Hey, how's it going, everybody? Shaun here from ZooBox, coming at you again with another movie review. Today we're going to be talking about Nighthawks from 1981. The film was directed by Bruce Malmuth, written by David Shaber, stars Sylvester Stallone, Rutger Hauer, Billy D. Williams, Lindsay Wagner, Persis Kambata, Nigel Davenport, Joe Spinell, and others. That's kind of the main cast. That's your main group of people. So I'd never really seen this before. I think I had seen it way back in the day, probably growing up. At some point, I'm sure I saw this. Big, big like Sylvester Stallone fans in my house. It's kind of like there was a period like in the 80s and 90s when like Sylvester Stallone or like an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie would come out or something. It would be almost like an event in my home. It'd be like a holiday. Everybody would get stoked and we'd all gather around the TV. So I assume at some point Nighthawks was on cable. I probably watched it, but I didn't remember it. I didn't really remember anything about it. It's the synopsis here on IMDb goes as follows: conservative street cop Deke De Silva reluctantly agrees to terminate an international terrorist who has demanded media attention, but De Silva's at-home tactics are very much put to the challenge. This is an odd movie. It's got a lot of studio and actor interference. This was at the point of Sylvester Stallone's life when he was kind of, he was a big deal. He was a producer on this movie. He was a writer. He had won an Academy Award. He wasn't quite the caricature that he ends up becoming, or wasn't yet in the direction that he would go, kind of being more of an action genre guy. He was still like an actor, or that's how he saw himself. And it was interesting because in this movie, apparently, like it had a different director when it started, and this guy leaves. I'm not sure what the circumstances were, but just from all the turmoil from behind the scenes between Stallone and Rutger Hauer, and then the studio and the post production process, it wouldn't surprise me if he just was like, "I'm not doing this anymore." Didn't get along with somebody or whatever. But yeah, so it gives the movie kind of you can feel it on screen. You can feel that struggle between everybody involved in making it, especially kind of in the post production side. I would say that because of it's an oddly paced movie, it's an oddly edited movie, and as the legend goes, there are three cuts of Nighthawks. There is a what's called the Stallone cut, which is kind of where the movie focuses more on his character. There is the Rutger Hauer cut, where the movie focuses more on the villain. And then there is the studio cut, which is like a Frankenstein's monster. Because Stallone was, I guess, jealous or intimidated by Rutger Hauer. They didn't get along very well. It doesn't really come through on screen because Stallone is actually not very good in this. I would say he's being a little try-hardy. It's a little bit like he thought maybe this would be like a showpiece for him. This is like, he's doing kind of a character actor type of role. He's trying to make a dark cop movie. That was kind of a thing in the era. This would be the era of what, like, Cruising came out like a little bit before, around the same time. So there's all these Dirty Harry, I guess, right? A lot of these like kind of seedy or borderline cop movies that came out in the era. And I liked those kind of movies. That's why I ended up watching this, because I kept seeing it on Netflix and I was like, I gotta watch that. I've never seen it because I just like the texture of movies from the era, and even like especially the cop dramas and whatnot from the era. I'm a big fan of that stuff, so I said, hey, what the hell, give it a shot. I went into this thinking it was going to be much more about Sylvester Stallone and Billy D. Williams and their relationship as cops. They're undercover officers. They're the Nighthawks. I guess that's what they call them. They're out there. I guess they like bust like low level street crime and stuff. They're busting drug dealers and rapists. That's the opening scene. Like Stallone's like wearing a bad lady mask and he's walking in a dress, and they're walking down the street and they thwart these muggers. And that's kind of seems like what they do. It's never really well defined. Nothing in the movie is very well defined. None of the characters feel like they have any type of deeper existence than what you're seeing in the movie. Like, they're all affect. Rutger Hauer almost gets kind of a character because he's so good. He's so compelling. He kind of just brings that. His presence informs that. Stallone and Billy D. Williams, though, they're like empty vessels. I mean, and I know there was more stuff in the movie with Stallone's character, at least, because Lindsay Wagner, and if you don't know who Lindsay Wagner is, shame on you. The Bionic Woman. I grew up watching the reruns on the Sci-Fi Channel. That's how I know that. But she's in the movie. She literally has, I think, 2 scenes. And she's like Stallone's ex-wife, but they're kind of in the middle of some sort of reconciliation type thing, and she doesn't like that he's a Nighthawk. That's what broke up their marriage. And yeah, so they're dealing with that. But apparently, there's a lot more of that. She was a much bigger presence in the movie, and they completely cut it out because the studio wanted like a tight 90-minute action movie. So even after Stallone did a cut where he kind of cut Rutger Hauer out of the movie, they went back and cut out even more. Because I guess the average runtime was like 2.5 hours, and this is about hour 40. So there's a lot. I don't know if it would have made the movie better though, to be honest with you, because you could just feel there's something about it that just doesn't work. I know part of that definitely is what happened in post, and like the way they edited the movie is it's too lean. Like it's so lean that you don't get any time to understand who any of these people are, and you kind of have to if you want to invest in this kind of story. You can't just be thrown out there to the wolves. Basically, they're just empty, and they have no personality. They have no relationships. As I was saying before I went on one of my classic tangents, Billy D. Williams and Stallone. I thought they were going to be like a cool buddy, like cops, like a cool partner dynamic or something. There's nothing there. They don't do anything. What a waste of Billy D. Williams. I was stunned. I was shocked. I couldn't believe how little was there. I expected it to be not like 48 hours or something, but I expected it to be that dynamic to be at least interesting. But no, it's completely dead on arrival. And it seems like to me, the problem was Stallone. Stallone is being so fucking serious. He is trying so fucking hard. As I said, this was something he probably thought was like going to be a nice little spotlight for him. And then Rutger Hauer came and knifed him. This is Rutger Hauer's, actually his American debut in American cinema. He had been an actor, before, I think, and where is he from? Is he Dutch? He had been in some early Paul Verhoeven movies, actually. If you ever get curious, you go see the porno comedy Turkish Delight, directed by Paul Verhoeven, starring Rutger Hauer. That's where he got to start, and then he obviously became who he became. And Rutger Hauer is one of my favorite actors of that era, all the way up until he passed away recently. He's always was doing something interesting at the very least. I was never bored by Rutger Hauer performance. And this movie's no different. It was a cool debut for him. He does some interesting work. He always plays a great creepy weirdo, and no different here. Mission accomplished, Rutger. You've done it. Actually, there's something I want to do, like on just another tangent, nothing to do with Nighthawks, but next I want to play through the game Observer. I might do it on stream. It's like a kind of like an adventure game, story adventure game. Cyberpunk. Rutger Hauer is actually the main star of the game. He voiced the game, and he kind of phones it in a little bit, but it's still just cool to pretend to walk in the shoes of Rutger Hauer. But yeah, he was great. And if I were to say anything, like, because it's not a very good movie, it's below average in my opinion. It was just kind of like I was just puzzled by it, and then when I did some research and I was reading the dossier, I was like, oh, that makes sense. It makes sense. All the trouble that they had. It makes sense why the movie is the way it is. I don't even know what I was gonna say. Oh, Rutger Hauer's performance. That's what made it worth watching, because it is a pretty quick watch all in all. I mean, about probably 90 minutes without the credits, and it is just a weird artifact of the time. It seems like it was kind of just like a cynical movie, It was like Stallone probably watched a bunch of movies like this. He's like, I want to do one of those. I want to do one of those movies, when I'm a cool, tough cop. Hey, that's my Stallone impression. You like it? Yeah, but he was probably. I imagine that's got to be kind of the impetus for why this thing came to be at all. I know that it was actually pitched as the French Connection 3, and Gene Hackman was like He was like, do I want to be Doyle again? Do I want to do that character again? Because there's a huge gulf of quality between the French Connection and the French Connection Part 2. But not that I don't mind the French Connection too, but I can understand him being like, do I need to? I've kind of said what I have to say with the character. Honestly, I mean, they should have never made a sequel to the French Connection because it fucks with the character stuff. You cannot spend that much time with that character. You can't. You gotta give us because he's like a microcosm of something, and you don't want to explore him too much. You gotta kind of leave him perfect, but that's totally besides the point. Talking Nighthawks, Nighthawks, baby. Yeah. Everybody feels wasted. It feels like a real wasted opportunity. I think that's actually what Rutger Hauer even said. Good old Rutger coming through for me again. Yeah, it feels like a wasted opportunity. It feels like too much of a copycat type movie. Just I don't know. There's just something so disappointing about it. And it could have been interesting because there is an interesting angle when you're talking about all like this international terrorist group that Rutger Hauer's. He's kind of just like a chaos agent. He's kind of like the Joker. It's like a little bit of a chaos agent. That's another thing I wish they would have gone into more is just because we do spend quite a bit of time with Rutger Hauer. It's like, well, why don't we get into his pathology or his belief system in some way? He doesn't really do that. They kind of like make mention of things because he's trying to get media attention. He's trying to get his message out there on the news. Like that's his purpose. He's trying to get some of his fellow terrorist people freed from prison. It's just kind of like these standard boilerplate things. It's just not that interesting. You know, especially when you have an actor like Rutger playing that part, my good friend Rutger, as I call him, you just want something, you yearn for more to be there. It sucks that it's kind of all just his performance quirks that like make the character interesting and nothing to do with the writing whatsoever. Honestly, I would say the writing here is it's kind of so boilerplate and so corny and just kind of bad. Yeah, it's very odd. It's a very odd movie. And if we had like explored more with the main two guys, Stallone and Billy D. Williams, like there could have been something interesting there. There could have been some sort of stakes. It never feels like there's stakes. There's never feels like there's any tension. There is no like the escalation is so mechanical and kind of obvious and expected. You know, because that's the whole thing, you know, as the movie goes on, you would think the escalation would be not just the terror, not just what Rutger Hauer's going to blow up or who he's going to kill, but also there should be an escalation between the relationships. Like, you know, they set up the fact that he has an ex-wife. Well, what's the emotional component there? Other than that he's sad that they're not together and she's undecided whether she wants to get back together. They don't explore it at all. They just kind of say that it's there and then they just move on. The same thing with Billy D. Williams. Billy D. Williams, this is spoiler alert. At the top of the third act, like the big thing that happens is Billy D. Williams gets cut in the face. That's it. That's it. And it sends Stallone into a fucking rage. Like he's gonna kill this motherfucker. He yells it at him over and over again as he's escaping through the subway tunnels. It's ridiculous. Like he's reacting as if like Billy D. Williams had just been gutted. But he got a fucking cut on his face. I'm not saying it didn't hurt. I'm not saying it wasn't I'm not saying that it wouldn't hurt. Of course not. It just doesn't read to an audience member as like effectively as why didn't we just kill him? I mean, we might as well just kill him. These guys were not doing anything together. I'd be curious. You know, I would love to see # release the Nelson cut. Release the Stallone cut of Nighthawks. Let's see it. Let's see what all that extra footage, if it would have done anything. It could have, it could have smoothed things out because it just feels like almost haphazard at times. Just the editing and the way it's put together is so messy. It's just so messy. And like I said, and you have no personal investment in anything that's going on, just beyond maybe Rutger Hauer being kind of superficially interesting because of his performance. Yeah. I could just say all that again, I suppose. I think I've said that about 3 times, so that's probably a good indicator that we should call it a day. But yeah, I can't give it the old recommend. But like I said, I think Rutger Hauer is great. If you're a Rutger Hauer completionist and you've never seen this, give it a go. It's about 90 minutes. My favorite movie length of these days, and and you will be really bored and maybe laugh a few times. That's just I think about the trailer. The trailer's really good. It cuts a good trailer, you know. But what are you gonna do? All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And if you'd like to know more about Zoobox, you can check out the links that are in the description. We got everything from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Also, if you would like to make a request, you want me to talk about a movie during one of these daily videos or a video game or anything, really, hey, you can throw it out there. I might talk about it. But yeah, just throw it in the comments, and I'll probably get around to it at some point. You know, I have so much stuff that it's nice to have a guide. It's nice to have something to point me in a direction where I can kind of make the choice for me. And then I can just, oh, cool, doing this one today. All right. Goodbye. Nighthawks. Out.